Well, I mean, among other things, it just reminds us that the country is at a moment, Karen, where there's just so much talk of political violence. It never seems very far from the surface. I mean, the reaction to this as well, immediately on social media was so incredibly polarizing, conspiratorial. I mean, cooler heads perhaps are prevailing right now. We heard Biden last night, and the day of the shooting, and Trump as well is sending out a signal that he's going to take a higher road, or a higher path at the convention, talking more about unity and less about division. I suppose we'll have to wait and see. But it is, as you said at the outset, it's incredibly fraught, the politics in the United States. Most Americans reject political violence as an answer or as a solution. But there was a study just last May showing that over 20% of Americans think that there's a place for it. And that's just an incredible number when you stop and you think about it.
There were calls across the aisle, really, to dial down the rhetoric over the weekend after what we've seen transpire. When it comes to Trump, can I just start there? Because what we saw, an initial reaction, fist pump on the back of the attack, and then the communication down the track suggesting that this is a moment of unity for the nation. The tone that Trump takes from here, how significant will that be?
I think it's very significant. And I think the same is true for Biden. I mean, there was something over 8,000 threats against public officials last year in the United States. Many of them are not serious, but there are plenty that are. And the tone that is set by the top political leaders, I think, is just so essential to changing the atmosphere. So, I mean, I think it's important. We don't know what the motivation of the shooter was, but if you have this kind of stark rhetoric where everybody's an enemy, or the opposing party is an enemy, and violence is okay, and metaphors are used about bullseyes and crosshairs, and and winking at or laughing off violence that occurs against an individual. Against certain against politicians on the other side, it just fuels it. I mean, I think this is why, the January 6th, 2021 uprising, 2021 uprising was so dangerous. It really set a terrible precedent. And this latest episode is likely only to encourage others.